Let me get this out of the way quickly. If you ever sat through a life story or memoir writing webinar and left more confused than inspired, you're not alone. I watched one recently and y'all, it was a hot mess. The presenter meant well. Her 5-step method was polished and passionate, but it felt like it belonged as a TED Talk, not a family history writing workshop. Her focus was on self-reflection, universal meaning, and emotional truth. All fine goals, but not something that moves the goalpost and hopes you score the touchdown of writing your ancestor or your story. Because when we're writing family history, we're not just expressing ourselves. We're documenting real lives. We're not polishing stories for applause. We're preserving them for posterity. And if we pick up a little praise, so be it. But that's a side benefit, not the ultimate goal. Let me walk you through the gist of what she shared. See if any of this sounds familiar and smile or say, yeah, that does. But I have tweaked it a little to protect her credibility as an educator. But let's dive in. Step 1, write for you. That sounds good in theory. It sets writers up to center their feelings in the story instead of writing facts. Great if you're writing a therapy journal, not so great if you're trying to preserve family history for your descendants, or even personal history for your descendants. Next, go deep into your emotions. If it wasn't enough in step 1 to write for you and write your emotions, this step emphasizes emotional introspection over observable events or contexts, which family historians really need to preserve. Although emotion is important, and I will tell you to do it in my 7-step framework, internal monologues often resemble a therapy session that is best kept private. And notice how for both of these 2 steps are practically the same, but yet they're different. Unearth universal story arcs. This sounds inspiring and a way to connect with others, and I've taught you about story arcs on this channel. But in practice, just start with the story arc is a trap because people shape their stories to fit predetermined morals or themes and fudge or filter the truth to force it. But real life is messy, and often the story arc does not reveal itself until the editing phase. So don't pre-edit your writing and exclude contradictions to make a tiny point. So while this tip is great, it's for the editing phase of writing, not the writing, your first draft phase of writing. The next tip, only include meaningful details. The suggestion is to cut fluff and only include what moves the story forward. But who decides what's meaningful? A wallpaper pattern might seem small until your granddaughter finds that same print in a vintage photo. Some details carry big emotional weight later on. So, don't cut out all the fluff, because then you're taking out the setting and the character. And here's the final tip. Transform experience into wisdom. That tip works if you're writing a personal growth memoir, but in a family history, you're not a motivational speaker. You're not giving a TED Talk. You're a witness to the past. You're a journalist of the past. Your job isn't to extract lessons, but to document the truth so far as you know it. The story matters more than the lesson. So, what's the real issue here? These steps encourage reshaping your past to fit a modern emotional arc. They make it tempting to oversimplify, flatten, or filter your memories or the story of your ancestors. And that means your story can lose their historical value and actually reduce the connection because the connections are false or forced. Do you see the problem? Again, your job as a family storyteller isn't to teach, it's to tell the truth as best you can, With heart, yes, but with honesty and accuracy. Do you agree? Are you ready to learn the better way to write personal stories? So here's what I use instead. It's not flashy. It's not deep and therapeutic, but it actually helps you write, and I already have some evidence to prove it. Even better, it helps you finish. So I call it GRIT PAF method. Now, genealogists might remember PAF as an old school family history program, personal ancestral file. Now it stands for the final steps to prepare your story for sharing. GRIT gets the story out of your head, and PAF gets it ready for print. Smile if you love a good acronym. I sure do. Now let me show you how GRIT PAF works. G, grab writing time. You can't make a story if you don't make time for it. Block out time even if it's 15 minutes. Protect that time. No writing equals no stories written. R, retrieve memory aids. Photos, journals, postcards, family recipes, crowns, banners, medallions, and so forth. They're all memory prompts that pull the past to the present. Memory aids are the key to unlocking vivid, true memories. A blank screen never sparked a story, but a photo or one of those memory aids will. I, ignore the rules for now. Don't worry about who's going to read your story. Let the story pour out without censoring yourself. Tell the English grammar corrector to go away just for now. Grammar and clarity can wait. Be messy and make mistakes. T, tidy it up. Once you have that draft written, go back and revise what you wrote. Revise for clarity and then shape the narrative. But keep it real. Now, the next 3 steps will transform your life story from dull to engaging. So here's the path. The path prepares the story for future generations. P, paint the details. Add depth to your stories with sensory details. What did it smell like? What did the wallpaper look like? Why did I react that way? Add context, explanations, and vivid details to bring your story to life. A, anchor the story in truth. This is where family history meets storytelling. Bring in what you know. Use family tree facts, newspaper clippings, historical context, and all those juicy genealogical sources. Be sure to label what's confirmed and what's lore. F, final polish. Smooth it out. Fix the grammar, tweak the structure, and make it readable. But don't over-polish it into fiction. Real and done is better than perfect. The proof is in the GRIT PAF. Let me show you how I use this method for something kind of ridiculous, but 100% real. Last year, I competed in the wife carrying world championship in Finland. Yep, it's a real thing. After the race, I knew I needed to write the story, not just for myself, but also for our family history blog book and our eventual European vacation scrapbook. I started with GRIT. I grabbed 20 minutes to write, pulled up the photos and our travel schedule, and let myself write freely without editing. I wasn't writing for myself. I wasn't chasing its theme. I was documenting what happened because it mattered to us. I wrote 1,700 words. It was raw, but it was done. Then I went back and I tidied it up. I took a paragraph that looks like this. Gina's story said, "Don't let go to push on the husband. Every woman who does that throws off their husbands and things don't go well." Not bad, but a little unclear, so it became. Gina's story had told me, "Don't let go to push up on your husband's back to get your head above the water." Every woman who did this ended up throwing their partners off balance and falling into the wife pond. In short, their race didn't go well. Just hold your breath, she said. Cough the water out after he's through. Tidy it up. More explanation. And notice you can actually understand the concept she was trying to convey. So now that I have added the tidiness to the story and I clarified some things, I want to paint details. I have a paragraph that begins like this. I went into the athletic prep area and sat down. Tears strolled down my face uncontrollably. I felt like I was going to ruin this for Andy. That became, I ducked into the athlete prep area, a metal building with open space, a cement floor, and chairs. I could hear the announcer, the shot of the air pistol, and the roaring of the crowd. I sat on a metal chair and tried to calm down despite my chest tightening. The tears fell, but no one approached me. They were focused on the race. Can you hear the crowd? Can you hear the announcer? Can you feel what was going on? I painted the picture. Now, I could go back and expand with some extra details so you can know what the structure looked like, about how big it was. I could actually add temperature details so you know what it felt like. If I was really good at senses, like smell, I could tell you what things smelled like. I just remember it wasn't as cold as the year before. But notice painting details, it is what makes a scene stick. So now we need to anchor the story in truth. For my story, the research involved adding in facts, the who and the what of the story. And that includes times, placements, and the other people that we knew at this event. Andy realized we were in 4th place in the senior division. He had stumbled in the water getting out, and that cost him the seconds he needed to get 3rd. I was so sad, but he wasn't. He was happy that I stayed on. That became, afterward, Andy found out we had placed 4th in the senior division with a time of 1:33:68. We missed the podium, the bronze medal, by 2.86 seconds. I was slightly disappointed we didn't podium, but I was so happy I stayed on his back the whole time. Andy says this 3 seconds were when he stumbled coming out of the pond. While one could blame Andy for the stumble, it didn't matter. We finished 4th. The previous year, we were the last in our division. We both had worked so hard. He lost 40 pounds and I lost 30. Ta-da! Is this a meaningful story? Absolutely. But more importantly, it's real. And that's what your family will treasure most. Try out GRIT PAF for yourself and see if you finish your memoir stories faster and with meaning, even though that's not what your goal was. This method works because it's built for real people with real stories, not just writers chasing meaning. I wasn't the best English student, and I'm not a best-selling author, and I still have grammar mistakes in my videos and my blog posts. But I've written and completed and preserved memoirs for my relatives. Additionally, I'm starting to fill my shelves with personal history scrapbooks and photojournals, and I'm still writing. If I can do this, you can too. Now, before you go, we have a viewer mailbag question to give you a little push to finally tell your story. I'm writing my own life story. Should I use documents along with personal experiences, or is there a better source? Absolutely, you should use sources. Photos, letters, certificates, newspaper clipping, journal entries, memorabilia, anything that can support your memories and add texture to your writing is gold. When I wrote about my years in beauty pageants, I just didn't rely on memory. I pulled in program books, newspaper articles, photos, and even some hilariously honest journal entries. It grounded my stories and helped me recall details I would have missed otherwise. So here's the takeaway. Treat your personal history like you would your family history. Real life deserves real evidence, and your story will come alive when you include it. You're part of your family's history, so write your story like it matters, because truthfully, it does. So if you want to be included in a future mailbag, just drop your question in the comments below, and then we'll wrap up this video. So what do you think? Does this framework make writing feel more doable? Drop a comment and tell me what memory you're thinking about writing next. If you still need a little help, don't hesitate to ask. And if you're ready for the next wonderful training tip, check out the video right here.